USC. They were on the road at Purdue. It was the first time USC has faced Purdue since 1998. That was Carson Palmer versus Drew Brees, and Drew Brees' first college start. Um, I think it was his first college game. One of the two. And so USC won the game last night, 33-17. I think they also won in '98. Yeah, but they won last night, 33-17. Jayden Maiava was 17 to 28, 282 yards. He also had 7 carries for 10 yards and a rushing touchdown. Jacoby Lane had 3 catches for 115 yards. Makai Lemon had 5 catches for 63 yards. Wayman Jordan had 18 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown. USC had 5 sacks. And, USC looks, they look good out there, bro. They look well coached. And I think my favorite thing is that they look like they're a well balanced team. They got skill position players are playing well. Maiava looks great. The offensive line looks nice and professional. The defense, obviously, year 2 under Dante Lane, they're much improved. So, but they're not a overpowering team. Like I said, they lost some guys to the portal. Lost 3 receivers to the portal who are playing well in their new homes. So not the most, like I said, I mean, it's 2026 next year. That's going to be the year when the recruiting class comes in. And so maybe we'll get to the point where, like, okay, USC is not just well-balanced and stacked, not well-balanced and well-coached, but they're stacked. But I think what's happened here is that if you go back and you look to Lincoln Riley, when he first got here, the cupboard was pretty much bare, and he went in the transfer portal. Obviously, the big domino to fall was him being able to bring Caleb Williams with him, right? Then he goes in the portal, and he gets Travis Dye. He gets Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison just won the Biletnikoff, and he gets him to come. Travis Dye, who had been a star at Oregon the year before. He gets those guys to come in, and that team was what? I think they were 10-1 or 11-1 going into the Pac-12 championship game. And we all know what happened. It fell apart, and they lost the bowl game also. But yeah, he decided that was an all-time job that he did in the transfer portal his first year here. And I think that he kind of wasn't able to replicate that the last 2 years to the same degree. And now this year, though, I think this is like the bet, like they could have been more. Like I said, Zach Branch and Kyron Hudson and Deuce Robinson, they transferred after last year. Those guys would have. Once again, it takes time. It's really not until you're like a junior that you're like a fully formed college football player. And that's what you're seeing. You got some guys they've been in the program, and they've matured, and they're just it's like everything is sort of clicking into place now. But they'd be more talented, and people would probably fear them more if they still had it. But I guess it really doesn't work like that anyway because Deuce and Zach and Kyron. They got to go and be the man at their new places. Where instead here they be playing behind Jacoby and Mackay. But yeah, I think it's more as just that, it takes time. It takes time when you come in and the talent is not there. You got to get your own guys in there and give them time to grow and give them time to be in the program. And that's what happened. And USC just looks way more uniform, this year, well put together. And I think it just takes time to do that. Next week they'll be next week is Michigan State. It's at the Coliseum. So as Gary Danielson was saying yesterday, the schedule it's not a really tough schedule as far as like the name brand schools. Um, but Notre Dame is 0-2 now. So, but last year really on paper was a tougher schedule. Um, this year it's not as bad, but it's a bunch of teams that are still dangerous. But it seems that if USC is right, USC should beat. But we just have to see how far USC has come, you know, this year. Um, but things are definitely pointing up. I would have to say, but it's still a lot of season to go. So we'll have to see what happens. Now across town, UCLA, they're just a complete dumpster fire under Deshaun Foster. You can't blame him because Chip Kelly, he kind of just left them hanging when he left for Ohio State, and Deshaun was just kind of thrown to the fire. He was not ready to be a head coach, in college football at a Big Ten school. Of course, Deshaun Foster was a great player for UCLA. UCLA back Deshaun's freshman year, they went 10-2 and lost the Rose Bowl. The year before that, they also went 10-2 and won the Cotton Bowl. This is back in the Bob Toledo, Cade McNown days, and it just couldn't seem further away. They're 0-3 now with 2 blowout losses at home. Week 1, they lost 43-10 against Utah, and last night they lost 35-10 against New Mexico. Sandwiched in between there, they lost 30-23 at UNLV. And it's crazy, man. The Rose Bowl's almost empty, and I look back. I remember, bro. In 2005, I always say this: the day that USC played UCLA at the Coliseum. This was Reggie's Heisman year. This was the 34th of 34 straight wins for USC. Of course, the next game for USC was the Rose Bowl loss to Texas. And Reggie ran wild. I think he had like 230 yards in the first half or something like that. And it was such a wipeout. He barely played in the second half. USC won, I think it was 66-19. And it was a hell of a day. I remember I took the SAT for the second time that day at LA High, and I ran into my classmate Bruce Linus, a Murphy legend. I ran into him, and we greeted each other. And then it was just such a beautiful day. I remember, I was 17 years old, and then I went to just went home, watched the game, and then that was the year that even UCLA was good that year. Well, I mean, obviously USC was like no college team had ever. They were at the ultimate height. No team before or since has exceeded the height that they were at that very moment in college football. And like I said, even UCLA was good. They went 10-2 that year. That was the Carl Durrell years, and that was the Maurice Jones-Drew, who went on to have an exceptional NFL career. Mercedes Lewis, who I know last year at least, I think he was still in the league at tight end. Both of those guys were. I don't know. MJD he didn't go first round. I think Mercedes did though. And they also had Drew Olson. So I just think back to those days, man. That was such a good time in LA for college football, and now UCLA is just so bad. But at least USC is starting to trickle upwards. But I don't know what UCLA is. They got to get a real coach. That's nothing against Deshaun. Like I said, he was just thrown into the fire. It's like if if Lincoln Riley just randomly quit, and then you had to throw. This kind of happened a couple of years ago when they fired Clay Helton, and then Dante Williams had to come in and be the interim. It's like you're not ready to be a head coach until you're ready to be a head coach. You can't just randomly be thrown into it. That's why most of the time the guy who's the interim, it doesn't work out because he's not really ready. And then so, um, uh, um, yeah, they got to get a real coach. I was gonna say it's like if Lincoln Riley just retired or quit or left the NFL randomly, and then USC didn't really have they didn't have a chance to interview, uh, you know, like the real interview like hiring process that it had passed already for that year or for that off season, and they had to just go, okay, well, who are we gonna do? Find okay, Deshaun, he's a legend of the program. We'll throw him in there. It's like if USC did that with, I don't know who's on the staff right now, anybody who played for the team, but like imagine Dwayne Jarrett was the wide receivers coach or something like that. you know, and Lincoln Riley ups and leaves, and then it's like what, we don't know, and then it's like all the other candidates have taken jobs and made their decisions. That would have been okay. Dwayne, you're a legend. You be the head coach now. That's basically what it's like. So that's not really fair to Deshaun, but and then Maiava, he came here from Tennessee, wanted more money. That sucks. And then Dante Moore, um, he left when Chip Kelly left, and he's at Oregon, doing much better. So I don't know what to tell you, except I don't know. Once again, I'm not the type of person. I didn't go to either one of these schools. I'm just a guy from the city who, I go way back as far as this stuff goes. Same thing in basketball. I go way back. I remember, who the big, uh, the major recruits were in the city going back 20 plus years. You know, uh, and it means something to me. But you know, um, I don't know. I don't. If you went to USC, you're happy that UCLA is struggling like this. But I didn't go to USC, and I didn't go to UCLA, so I'm just somebody who I support the LA teams. It doesn't do anything for me to see UCLA be bad. Like Mitch and Shane are different. Mitch and Shane, they're UCLA guys. They didn't go there, but they're UCLA guys, and they basically they act like screw USC. I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy because I didn't actually go to USC. So why would I do that? Okay. Um, and then last but not least, I just wanted to say, uh, Florida, they lost again yesterday, and I don't know, man. I don't know what they're gonna do.